Well, thank you very much for having the opportunity to say a few words regarding the need to protect journalists and the problems of journalism being a much more unprecedented, risky business. Just for information, the European and the International Federation of Journalists has been monitoring the situation of protection and safety of journalists since last April at the Council of Europe platform for the protection and safety of journalists. For information, it started in April 2015, so it's almost 2 years old now, and there have been by now 287, I don't know if I'm still visible.
Yes, you are.
Okay. There have been 287 alerts in 34 countries. 4 of those alerts are coming from Croatia. Interestingly enough, 114 of those alerts, a member state has reacted. 17 journalists have been killed, which of course in Europe only is extremely worrying. I don't have to say that most of these alerts come from countries, you may guess it, Turkey, Russia, Ukraine, but actually the Balkan is not giving the best picture either. And there we already have a task which is very important for journalists' organizations. We monitor these cases. We monitor, we map media freedom. We have different tools for that. The Council of Europe tool is highly important because it obliges, in a way, member states to react and to also realize the problem. We have a project supported by the European Union, which is called Mapping Media Freedom. And there also every single attack on journalists does not have to be a physical attack. It can also be another chilling effect on journalism, a problem of journalists not being able to do their work, or a problem of media pluralism, a problem of attacks against the media or attack against public service broadcasting. We think the Council of Europe came out with a recommendation last year, again on the protection of security, and in this recommendation, which all Council of Europe, 47 member states, but Russia signed, there is everything in it we need. There's everything in it for states need to protect journalists, for police dealing with journalists in the right way, for fights against impunity, everything. Unfortunately, even though the member states signed, we all know they do not enough in that situation. We just had, the EFJ had a mission in Macedonia. Problem, as you probably all know, is of our great concern. It's not only that journalists have been put in prison, the physical safety is in danger, and the mission came up with a report. They met government. The government actually promised to do something for journalists. Wait and see. But I think it's very important for us, for the federations, together with other press freedom groups, to voice up each time something is happening and to challenge all the stakeholders, specifically the governments and politicians, to remind them of their responsibility, to remind them also that they signed the Council of Europe recommendation, which is there to protect journalists and to do everything that journalists can do their work. Just for information, the Council of Europe, also with the cooperation of the European Federation of Journalists, just came up with a very interesting study called Journalists Under Pressure: Unwarranted Interference, Fear and Self-Censorship, in which they had a survey with almost 1,000 journalists in terms of their work. And the results are very interesting. They are actually also very frightening. It's about 69% of journalists who have experienced psychological violence. It is not physical violence, what we are discussing here, but psychological violence, cyberbullying, and intimidation by interest groups, of course, has a big influence on self-censorship. There has also been another survey by our colleagues from the journalist associations in the Balkans, where they also monitor physical threats against the safety of journalists, and it's quite threatening. It's a really unprecedented threats towards journalists in the Balkan, which has our great concern within the European Federation of Journalists. And what can we do about it? We have to continue voice up. We have to continue to monitor each single case when something is happening to journalists, but also when something may be happening. This self-censorship is so important, that journalists are scared to write articles because of potential physical safety. That is of our great concern. We, of course, invite our federations where they can to do training. We also at the EFJ and IFJ, we organize safety training. We work together with other organizations like the Rory Peck Trust in London to prepare safety training specifically for freelancers, because freelancers are still very much on the forefront, also often going to countries outside Europe who are dangerous and working on the front to become famous maybe one day. And the employers very often leave them alone. And we have to do something on that, and we do that at political level, at practical level, and as we can, if possible, at local level.